Since the last update, there are a lot of new settings in Rust that may confuse you. So I had to do some more research and test new combinations of settings to give you a complete Rust settings and optimization guide that includes video settings, audio settings, some things you probably didn't know, how to reduce input latency, keybinds, and everything else you wish the other settings videos had. I'm gonna try my best to boost your FPS by at least 10%, reduce input delay, and help you get rid of those annoying stutters. Before we begin, I want to say that I'm gonna keep this guide as simple as possible and focus only on the things that will actually help you. But first, Rustly is one of the fastest growing Rust websites with a lot of games to play, many deposit methods including skins, cards and crypto, and instant withdrawals with a store full of skins. You can climb 5 free cases by using code STELIC or clicking the link in the first comment. You can battle against real players or bots in games like Case Battles, Coin Flip and even Minefield and win cool skins. And if it's not enough for you, you can get a lot of bonuses and free cases every 24 hours. In fact, you can get 5 free cases right now if you click the link in the first comment or go to rustly.com and use code STELIC. Please remember, loot boxes sites can be addictive, so make sure you're over 18 and only spend money you can afford to lose. Good luck! Let's start with the screen tab. If you have a good PC, choose the maximum resolution, be it Full HD, 2K or 4K, depending on your monitor. Use only full screen mode, regardless of your PC. If you are playing on a laptop with a 60Hz screen, you can try enabling VSync, because it will lower the temps of your laptop. If this option doesn't work for you or you have performance issues, you can use the slider below to lock the frame rate to something like 70 FPS, which will also allow you to lower your laptop's temp and get rid of the stutters in most cases. If you are playing on PC, just put 0 here. Limit FPS in background, turn off, and limit FPS in menu, turn on. I don't think you want to watch videos in the main menu at 400 FPS, 60 will be enough. Now let's get to the most interesting part, Graphics tab. Select only custom preset. If you select one of the existing presets, you will reset all the current settings, which you definitely don't need. The DLSS and render scale options always work together. Here you have 2 options. The first, the most universal and common. Render scale set to max and DLSS turn off. This will give you the best FPS without any blur. If you have a good GPU like a 4070 for example, you can try to set render scale to 0.5 and DLSS to balanced. If the image is very blurry, you can turn off DLSS and enable DLAA. This can make your image quality much better, but the new anti-aliasing can take a lot of FPS, so you need to test this on your own system, as there is no universal value here. If you don't want to deal with it, just set the render scale to 1 and turn off the other 2 settings. Global rendering is another interesting but useless setting that I don't see the point of. When you turn it on, at the bottom you need to set the global rendering distance to 1500. For example, after you do this and restart the game, it will render all the monuments, roads and other objects at a distance of 1500 meters. I don't recommend using this setting, as it gives an unnecessary load on your system and doesn't affect gameplay in any way. If you need a good draw distance, you can use this good old setting below that has been in the game since the beginning. This setting is responsible for the display of players, buildings and other objects at a distance and doesn't affect your FPS so much. So you can set it to mid or even max value if you have a good PC. Shader level is one of the key settings that's responsible for the textures of the ground, sand, snow, cliffs and everything else that surrounds you. Here you need to choose either 100 or 600. If your PC is good, choose 600. If it's not or you want more FPS, choose 100. Parallax mapping is a completely useless setting in Rust. In general, this setting should create a 3D effect for 2D textures, but for some reason in this game it doesn't work as it should, and it also takes away a lot of FPS, so disable and once again disable this option. Water quality and water reflections. Remember, everything related to water is a lot of FPS, regardless of your PC. This is the FPS when both settings are on max. And this is the FPS when both settings are disabled. To be honest, I don't know why a normal player should turn on these options. Maybe for YouTubers this option is important, but I recommend you to turn it off to get an easy 10 or even 15% FPS gain. Grass displacement. Always enable this setting to make it easier to find weapons and other items in the grass. A very useful setting that doesn't reduce your FPS at all. Grass shadows also make it difficult to find weapons and other objects in the grass, so turn this option off. NVIDIA Reflex Mode, Enable plus Boost. This setting should reduce system latency, but it's almost impossible to verify, so let's just take the developer's word for it. Reflex Latency Marker works together with this setting, but it's better to disable it. Precise Terrain Billboards. To be honest, I have no idea what this setting does. Even after reading its description, even after googling what it means, I can't find anything. So just disable this setting so it doesn't affect your FPS in any way. Soft Particles. Another useless setting that doesn't work the way it should. Normally, if you turn this setting on, it won't let smoke, light or fire pass through textures. But at the moment, this setting doesn't do anything, so turn it off. Pixel Light Count and Particle Raycast Budget. These two settings are related to ray tracing. I don't think it's a good idea to use ray tracing in a game that isn't optimized for it, so just turn these settings off. To be honest, even while testing these settings, I didn't see any RTFX from lights or anything like that. Maybe that will change in the future, but for now just disable these two options. Load Bias is a new key setting that has a major impact on your gameplay. What does this setting do? Level of detail or LOD refers to the technique of adjusting the graphical complexity of objects or environments based on their distance from the player's viewpoint. Simply put, it's the display range of barrels, bears, crates and everything else in the game. For example, if you use the minimum value of the setting, you won't be able to see the bear until you get close to it. So set this setting to at least 3.2, ideally 3.5. If you have a good PC, set to the maximum value. This setting it's about 10% of FPS, but you won't be able to play normally without it. Now let's talk about textures. Texture mipmaps are levels of graphics, ranging from potato to ultra graphics. If you have a really bad GPU, choose the lowest resolution. If you have 4GB graphics card, quarter resolution. Full resolution I don't recommend, because you may have stutters even on a high-end PC. For most cases, half resolution will be just right. Anisotropic filtering. This setting works together with the shader level. If you use them separately, the graphics will not change. However, if you set the shader level to 600 without anisotropic filtering, you get those blurry textures at a distance. Now let's set the filtering mode to all textures and filtering level to 16. The difference is huge. Plus, this setting is optimized for RTX GPUs, so your FPS will almost not change. In general, this setting will make all textures that face you look sharper and more detailed, so be sure to use it, it's a very useful setting. And the last two mipmap settings don't affect graphics at all, but can take 4GB of memory, which can affect performance, so just disable them. Shadows, another very important section of the settings that can affect your gameplay a lot. However, it's very simple here. If you use the lowest settings, your shadow will be just awful, square, blinking and of poor quality. If you want to make the shadows beautiful without losing FPS, use the following settings. Quality set to 1. Leave shadow mask as it is. Resolution set to medium. Cascade set to 2. And the last two settings set to min. Now look at your shadow. Again, the difference is huge. Now your shadows and the shadows of other objects looks normal, and you don't have any performance issues. Shadow lights should never be touched at all, because this setting allows you to see light through walls from campfires at night, which can give you a huge advantage. Well, the last section is mesh quality. Nothing has changed here, so let me quickly show what settings to use. If you have a really bad PC or laptop, just set everything to minimum except tree quality, set it to 100. If you don't do this, the image quality of the trees will be terrible. If you have a good PC, set particle quality to 50, object quality to 100, tree quality to 100, tree meshes to 50, and everything else to 0. In any case, only two settings are important here: particle quality and tree quality. The first setting makes the buildings more beautiful and higher quality, while the second setting makes the trees look normal. In the Image Effects tab, you have two options. If you want a beautiful image, use my settings. You will lose a few FPS, but it's worth it. If you want maximum performance, use only these three settings. And finally, in the Experimental tab, enable this option and set Optimize Loading to partial. Also, set GC buffer to the maximum value. The more memory you allocate for this, the less stutters you will have when you run around the map. So, based on all my tests, I made two presets for you. The first preset is Potato, for the highest possible FPS on your system, but the image quality won't be that great. These settings is for real PvP chats who need the absolute best performance possible. And the second preset is optimal settings for really high FPS and beautiful image quality if you're just a chill guy. So you can choose which preset is best for you, based on your preferences. In the audio tab, just be sure to mute the in-game music to hear everything that happens around you. And put the master volume higher than the game sounds volume to hear headshots with bass boost. I also recommend using the 7.1 speaker mode, which gives you a more spacious experience. And here are the rest of the settings I'm using. As for the keybinds, I won't spend a lot of time on this, and will leave all the keybinds I use in the description below, so you can just copy them. If you want to optimize your Windows and graphics card, you can watch my last video. All settings are up to date and still work. But now, let me help you optimize your internet and reduce the input lag. And to do this, we need to fix your buffer bloat. If you don't know what it is, buffer bloat is a software issue with networking equipment that causes spikes in your internet connection's latency when a device on the network uploads or downloads files. In other words, RAS sends out quite a few packets with information about your movement around the map, as well as other players' movement, gunshots, and so on. Because of this, sometimes you may have drops in FPS, stutters, and desynchronization with the server because the packets are lost or don't get there in time. For example, you hit the enemy, but the damage didn't count. But how to check if you have buffer bloat? Just go to this website, I'll leave the link in the description below, and click Start Test. It will take a while, so you'll have to wait. If you have an A or A+ result, you don't need to do anything. If you have a B, C, D or F, you can use this command. Again, I'll leave everything in the description below. First, you need to open CMD as an administrator. Pass this command here and press Enter. If you don't like something, you can always use the second command to return to the default settings. Go to this website again and do the second test after using the command. The result should be much better. All we've done is limit your internet a bit, so that packets delivery is stable and without any spikes. However, if you are trying to download a large file or a game, your speed may be low, so use the second command to turn off the speed limit. If you still have any questions, leave them in the comments below, I will gladly answer you. And by the way, if you want to support my channel, you can join the membership and become a real chat. Here I'll be sharing exclusive tips, tricks and exploits that I find with the community. So if you have the opportunity, I'd appreciate your support. And if you want to learn more about Rust, then here's 21 Rust mistakes that ruin your game. There are many bad habits you have likely developed in your time playing Rust that could be worsening your experience.